For our next speaker, we're so honored to have a special guest, Thorsten Klute, joining us today. Thorsten is a German politician from the state of North Rhine-Westphalia, and he is a member of the Social Democratic Party, the SPD, and has served in the state parliament of North Rhine-Westphalia since 2022. Prior to his current role, he served as State Secretary for Integration from 2013 to 2017, and Mayor of the town of Rüssmold from 2004 to 2013. Klute is a trained lawyer, having studied law at Bielefeld University, as well as in Krakow, Poland, and he is fluent in German, English, and Polish. Please help me welcome Thorsten Klute.
Nice to meet you. Hey.
I get to stay up here now. So welcome. Thank you. Tell us a little bit about the situation in Germany. How are things going? In Canada, we have the idea that European countries are a socialist paradise. What do you think about that?
Okay, at first, thank you for inviting me here. It's a great pleasure to be here on your convention. And yeah. So when you ask me if Europe is a social paradise, for me it's important to tell that there's not the only one Europe. We have different Europes. We have different countries in Europe, and the political systems are very different. So there's a difference between Hungary, for example, and the political system in Germany. But in generally, social security has a long tradition in the whole Europe, and social policy for all people has a long tradition, but we have different systems, political systems, and the level of social security is very different in the whole Europe. You asked me about the situation in Germany. Yeah. I think it's a situation similar to Canada and to other developed countries. We live in tremendously challenging times. People in Germany experience a lot of changes. Perhaps you remember that 40 years ago, Germany was divided in the communist East and the free West. And so people, especially in the east of Germany, experienced so many changes. The fall down of the wall in Berlin and the transformation of the system. Then, a few years later, 2007, we had it on the whole world, the financial crisis. Again, a few years later, the COVID, the pandemic. And then in 2015 or 16, the big migration from the crisis areas in the world, Afghanistan, Syria, to us. So people experience so many changes that they are tired of changes. That's the situation, I think, in Germany now.
Yeah. So do you think that that's top on voters' minds right now, is dealing with those changes?
Yes, I think so. People are searching for security, for stability. People are searching for social security. And I think for us in politics, the most important issue now to give people social security.
Yeah. So Germany and Canada held their federal elections at the same time in the same week in September 2021. And a lot of political watchers here were excited to see the victory of the SPD in the national campaign. But for a long time, the party was very low in the polls. So what do you think really drove that turnaround and that win?
I think it has to do a little bit with what I was talking about a minute ago. people are searching for security and stability. And Olaf Scholz, our chancellor, and 2 years ago he was a candidate on chancellor, is a very competent man and a very reliable man. And people felt that when he talks about respect for workers, that it's honest, that he speaks honestly. And people are searching for respect, searching for social security. And Olaf Scholz was reliable for this.
Yeah, and a lot of that work, especially like in 2021 coming out of the pandemic, that line for respect and the frontline workers, I think was something that your campaign really brought forward as well.
Oh yeah, that's right, that's right. I think the situation in the pandemic was similar to Canada. We all remembered that the workers were the people who kept on the country. For example, in Germany, a lot of people, when we were not allowed to meet each other on the street and on meetings, on public meetings, we stayed at home. And in Germany, people in the evening went out to the balconies and they gave applause to, for example, the nurses. It was great. It was a sign of respect. And Olaf Scholz was a person who said, it's good that we give applause, but it's not enough to give applause to nurses and others, to the people who work in the groceries, to teachers. It's not enough to give applause for people who work in kindergartens and everywhere. So real respect means to give them good wages, to give them respect. That's a kind of respect. And that was Olaf Scholz and was very reliable, yes, in opposite to others.
Yeah. So, sorry, I'm just going to go to the one thing that we've heard is really that the recent rise of the far right, the AfD, is something that's all of a sudden cropping up again. And in Germany and across the world. So even here in Canada, we had one of the Conservative MPs meet with an AfD member, and here it caused quite the controversy. Why do you think that the rise of this far right is coming back again, not only here in Germany, but across the world?
I think it has to do with the lots of changes people experience in these years. Yeah? As I began to speak about the financial crisis in 2017, the migration to Europe in 2015, the pandemic, then later the Russian war against the Ukraine, and that's a war against our values, our common values. The inflation after the war, after the attack of Russia against the Ukraine. People have to experience so much changes, and they are afraid of these changes. And our duty as politics, especially as social democrats, in my opinion, is to give them social security, to help for stable pensions, to work for a good salary, for good wages, that nobody has to fear the changes. That's our duty, in my opinion.
Yeah. So you've had actually a wide range of experiences. You were the mayor, you were a state secretary for integration, and now you work in really speaking on healthcare and the impact of politics on seniors and bringing that forward. You've been in government and you've been out of government. Tell me a little bit about how that's come to be and the impact of the work that you've been doing and your work in politics.
At first, in my opinion, it's always better to be in government than out government, and that's what we have to work for. In Germany and in Canada. And because when we are in government, we can change. We can work for real change. And second, what I would like to mention is, in my opinion, it's very good if politicians have different experience, if politicians know what it means to go every morning to work, to know what it means to work in an elderly care center, in a kindergarten, in a company, in a manufactory. I think it's very important. And for me, for example, it was good that I started as a lawyer and I worked in labor law. Later, it was good for me that I was the head of a bigger welfare organization, which has more than 220 kindergartens, several elderly care centers, and so on. So it helped me to make politics now because I know what it means to be a nurse. I know what it means to work in a kindergarten. I think it's very important that politics know what it means to wake up every morning and go to real work.
Imagine that, the politicians knowing about people.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we have is that when we're talking about the relationship between Germany and Canada and our international relations, is that something that you feel that, because we don't have a chance to exchange very much, is that something that you feel that's beneficial and of value for the international relations to maintain and have these discussions, especially as socialists?
I think it's very important, and it's becoming more and more important that we in the free world work together on both sides of the Atlantic. So the Russian war against Ukraine is a war against our common values. And for me, it's very important to thank you, the NDP and the Canadian people, for helping the Ukraine, defending their country, defending the lives of the people there, and defending our common values. Thank you, Canada. So I would like to mention what it means. I would like to mention we in Germany are very close to those conflicts. The war is knocking to our door. As you told, I speak Polish. I lived in Poland. I'm very Polish socialized because of my wife, because of my family. And when Russia began to attack the Ukraine, we organized different helping transport to the Ukraine. I traveled to the Polish-Ukrainian borderline, and there are some pictures. I think you all know it when you have very difficult situation. There are some pictures that come into your brain that you can't forget the pictures. And one of those pictures is the picture of a young mother which was completely exhausted, a Ukrainian mother. She crossed the border with a newborn baby. She was so exhausted that she couldn't carry the baby anymore, and a Polish soldier took her baby and helped her carrying it on the other side, on the peaceful side. And you have to experience this to see what happens in Europe. What does it mean? So when Russia attacks our common values. So again, thank you, Canada, for helping us there.
Thank you so much. And you know, one of the things that I think I've appreciated the most is to be able to see that across the world there are so many similarities about politicians caring for people, the importance of that connection that we have in the community with the people that we serve. And so thank you very much for bringing a little bit of that to us. And we look forward to many more conversations. Thank you, Thorsten.
Thank you all.